For many, the end of Thanksgiving means the start of holiday shopping season. On Black Friday, retail stores are run over by stampedes of enthusiastic shoppers looking to cash in on big sales. On Cyber Monday, online outlets run big promotions. And this year, Americans are expected to spend close to $148 billion on just those 2 shopping days. But during this season of spending, we wanted to focus on a day of giving. The Tuesday after Thanksgiving has become an opportunity for people to support causes they care about during a challenging year. It's a chance for Americans to donate money to worthy nonprofits in need of funding. In 2019, nonprofits banked over $400 million on Giving Tuesday, and this year, some are estimating up to $600 million will be donated. So this week, we're shining a light on some of the incredible nonprofits we've covered on More in Common. An apparel design firm with a uniquely dedicated workforce.
The organization allows people who society really wouldn't expect to have an opportunity.
An organization pairing soldiers with stallions.
I suffer from anxiety, and being out here with the horses and just being able to pet them is very relaxing.
And Santa's real-life helpers.
You can just see their face light up. They're happy that they're going to get to open something under the tree.
We're celebrating Giving Tuesday, coming up on More in Common. This first nonprofit that we're about to feature employs people on the autism spectrum in jobs that they love. Check out Spectrum Designs. Here in Jericho, New York, about to meet Josh, who's making t-shirts a lot better than mine. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for having us here. You got quite the setup here. And you got Mickey Mouse. He's my boss.
Since I have autism and stuff, I didn't have lots of friends, so I sunk all my time into learning the history and then building things. So I did stuff like that in my spare time.
In terms of your day-to-day, how early are you getting up? How much are you working?
I'm normally in Port Washington at least an hour before work.
Because you're so excited to work, or why would you get there an hour before you have to?
I'm a very passionate individual.
Sometimes I see him in his car, just being like, all right, you're here, I can come in now. Sometimes he's sitting up here, the lights are off. I'm like, you could turn the lights on. But he just wants to go. He wants to start. And I mean, that's just, as an employer, who wouldn't want 10 of Josh?
So this is where you work, huh?
Yeah, this is it. I'm a Spectrum Designs.
Beautiful building, huh?
Beautiful building, beautiful view. Where we make all the shirts. We do little names, custom names, big names. Yeah, you name it, we do it. Before Spectrum Designs, I was working in kitchens. Self-esteem was pretty much decimated there because all you're being yelled at, and I just kind of sat there and where do I go from here? I go to Spectrum and I see, wow, people here get me, they understand me, there's a chance to move up. By doing that, that builds on your self-esteem a lot.
And Spectrum Designs is this idea of the autism spectrum. Where do you fall on that, and what does that mean for people who don't know much about autism?
I'm pretty high up on it. That's why lots of people, when they just meet me, they're like, you have autism? Are you sure, man? Pretty much it's a communication disorder where some people are nonverbal. I have a hard time with eye contact, so that's why I'm not looking exactly at you, only because it's extremely uncomfortable to the point of that I actually can't do it. Most people get diagnosed when they're 3. I was diagnosed when I was 13. I had to go through the mainstream school system just being labeled a behavior problem. I was in high school, and this girl comes up for me and says, one day I'm gonna be famous movie star, and you're gonna be some homeless guy living in a box. I use that every day because I always think, well, if I slack off, if I do this, am I right or is she right? I have turned that bullying into something quite positive, and most people don't do.
Tell me about how you got into creating a company like this.
So it started from really talking to parents. My co-founders, both parents of children with autism, and that fear of what's going to happen when the school bus stops coming at 21, when we're no longer here to take care of them one day. What are they going to do when they graduate high school? And so set up Spectrum Designs in the Nicholas Center, and I was in the right place at the right time to help create this business that could employ this population. And then once we were set up and we started ordering and producing a good product, we realized, hey, we were onto something here. Bye, Johnny. See you, bud. See you soon. Thanks for coming in to help. Quinny! You want to say hello to the camera?
Hello.
The organization he's made allows people who society really wouldn't expect to have an opportunity, not just move up work-wise, but also like mentally, socially, all that. We need to beat that stigma that, oh, if it's someone with a disability, the shirt might not be as good, but we produce a product which is not only as good, but sometimes better because employees like myself and my coworkers have the ability to zero in on little micro things.
It then becomes like a badge of honor. You send it out into the world, people wear it, and it shows what people with disabilities can do when given a fair shot.
I have seen numerous times people wearing stuff which I've made. Like, that's the coolest feeling ever. You go out and like, hey, I remember when that was just like on a plaid and we're printing it, and now you see it proudly out and about. That's one of the coolest things, honestly. It's really cool when you see your work out there.
The subject of our next story is giving back on a whole new level. He served in the military and then as an ER nurse during the COVID pandemic. And after spending time as a homeless person himself, he's decided to help feed the homeless with this nonprofit.
We're with our charity, Aggregate Hearts. We've been going to the homeless shelters and finding people on the street and feeding them if they need food.
Healthcare workers on the front lines have been working non-stop since the coronavirus pandemic began. However, one Long Island ER nurse is going the extra mile by giving back to the homeless after he himself was living on the streets.
Hi, my name is Andy Garabedian. I spent 3 years on the street. I was homeless in the early 2000s. During the height of the coronavirus pandemic, I was working as an emergency room nurse at Long Island Jewish Valley Stream. Having personal experience of living on the streets, I felt that there was a need to help the homeless, especially after a visit to New York City at the end of April, at the height of the pandemic. You hungry?
You want a sandwich?
I'll take some, man. Had a high school Marine Corps. Was medically discharged, came home. Wasn't exactly in a friendly relationship with my family. I had a falling out with my family. And I thought it would be better for me to be in New York closer to my friends than it would be, you know, trying to figure stuff out somewhere else. But it became too much for me, just a weight on me. I opted to be homeless rather than a burden on my friends and their family. Down here?
This says vacant though. Is there someone here? Andy's story made me realize, I think sometimes we stereotype people and judge them, but it can happen to really anybody, just the right set of circumstances. So it's really nice to feel like even just like one or two people, we've been able to make a really big difference.
We wound up jumping in the car and drove to the city, and there was nobody on the streets. I mean, we saw a couple of police officers, and then all of a sudden as we drove down 7th Avenue, you started to see pockets of people, and these pockets of people were homeless. I'd asked them, I said, what do you guys do for food? And they're like, well, there's not much. We can't really pick through the garbage. There's not any food because there's no people. And I was like, well, what about the shelters? And they said, well, they're at 1/3 of the capacity. I was like, what about soup kitchens or food? And they're like, they're not operating right now. And this was in April. And I was like, so what do you guys do for food? And they're like, pray. And I'm like, what do you do on the streets? Like, what do you do to survive? And like almost every single one of them, without batting an eyelash, said the same response, and it's try not to die. I've been there, and sometimes you need that spark. You need the light inside of the darkness. And mine came in the form of a priest, which was probably at the lowest point of my entire life. And you never know, like these people might, something like a meal, could be something simple, but you answer that prayer. You like chicken or you like ham?
I like chicken and ham. Okay.
I mean, I think they're overlooked always. Somebody once asked me what was the worst thing about being homeless. It wasn't about being cold or hungry or on the streets. It's just that nobody knows you're gone.
Thank y'all so much. God bless y'all.
You're very welcome. God bless you as well.
After the break.
5 years after transplant, God kind of placed on my heart that it was time for me to share my story, to bless others.
And later,
dogs look at us and think that we're gods. Cats look at us and think that we're staff. But horses look us right in the eye and say, where are you in the pecking order?
It's okay, nobody's gonna hurt you.
After receiving a kidney transplant from her father, the teen in our next story created a nonprofit to help kids like her receive life-saving organ transplants.
On November 21st of 2011, doctors took my left kidney and transplanted it into my daughter, Kimmy. Kimmy growing up was always very active, always had a smile on her face. And then right after she turned 12, she came downstairs one day and her hands were kind of forming into claws.
My hands kind of got into like a 4 formation, and it was excruciating pain.
They did a lot more testing. That went about 3 months, and they said this really isn't working. She's going to need a transplant.
I can't put into words how grateful I am. They both gave me life, and he gave me a second chance at life. 5 years after transplant, God kind of placed on my heart that it was time for me to share my story, to bless others.
She wanted to come alongside other kids who heard the news, you need a life-saving organ transplant.
We kind of thought, well, let's look at starting a nonprofit because this is something we want to do long term, and started our nonprofit organization called Children's Transplant Initiative.
What I really do is I come alongside the kids and I kind of talk to them and kind of mentor them and tell them, hey, I went through this and you're going to go through this and it's going to be okay.
We have families that are referred to us by our trusted social workers at Texas Children's.
We here at Texas Children's, we meet the medical aspects of it, but there's so many other components that are missing. CTI, they offer those basic needs, whether it's financial, having money just for basic needs, for food, having an apartment to stay for your entire family, because some of our families, they relocate with the parents and the other siblings.
And so now we do run 5 hospitality apartments, less than a half a mile from Texas Children's.
We're from Louisiana, which is a 4-hour drive, so we here stay in the apartments with CTI, my daughter Kylie. When we realized that we had to do dialysis 3 times a week and the traveling would be a little bit too much, we decided to relocate here in Houston. It's rent-free. It's a half a mile away from the hospital, very easy. Other family can come here and visit and spend family time with us.
Yeah, my grandma and my sister and her 2-year-old baby.
CTI has been really great for Kylie and I and other families from around the states. Gives them a place to stay and home away from home.
Being a recipient of a transplant, I really have looked at organ donation in a different light. And unfortunately, a lot of kids nowadays don't have living donors that are ready to give them an organ and are waiting on the list. So it's so important to sign up to be an organ donor to help save a children's life.
Every year around the holidays, kids write Santa hoping he'll make their wish come true. And for children in need, this next organization makes Christmas miracles happen.
The Dear Santa Society really makes Christmas a reality for families who otherwise wouldn't have a Christmas.
Dear Santa.
We answer letters that families send who truly need our help.
I'm 10 years old, and for Christmas I want a toy called Mini Brands. Some of the kids don't realize that they are in need and they're asking for a bike and a TV. And the other ones, they don't want anything for themselves, but they want sheets for their sister's bed. And I also want a reindeer jumper for sleeping.
We're still answering the letter as Santa and the elves.
It's shopping, wrapping, and then delivering.
Some families, they ask for a sleeping bag. They're sleeping on a floor. And just to hear that a child sleeps on the floor could just break your heart.
She wants LOL toys, a Christmas book, an Eagle toy, and Legos.
They're not asking for these iPads or computers. They're really just asking for essentials for a child.
Jim, who is our founder, he saw something on the news about how postal workers buy for families when they get Dear Santa letters. So he got money from friends and family, 8 families that he helped that year. And then it just grew from there.
Last year, we helped over 100 children and over 35 families.
They must send a letter. Some of the letters from the kids are very emotional.
It's pretty gut-wrenching what you hear with these stories. These children, they have it tough and by no choice of their own. Christmas gifts just wouldn't be a priority because it's really not a necessity for them.
You've taken a big weight off their shoulders because they're worrying about paying bills.
They deserve to have a Christmas. They deserve to have happiness. They deserve just those few toys. The number of families that we can help depends on the donations that we receive. It's an operation, to say the least. We have a shopping team, we have a wrapping team, and then we have our group sorting all the food. You really do feel like an elf. You knock on their door, you have everything.
When they deliver, it's bags of clothing, toys, and a bin of food.
Christmas isn't just about gifts. It's about spending time with your family. It's about having a meal together.
seeing how grateful people are, how joyous the kids are. When you got little kids jumping around.
You can just see their face light up. You know, everything's wrapped, of course, so they don't know what it is, but they're happy that they're going to get to open something under the tree. We really do rely solely on donations.
Think of all the things you do for your own children. So if you just took 1/10 of what you do for your own children and do it for somebody else, bring a little joy into a family.
It's really indescribable.
Coming up next.
Being out here with the horses and just being able to pet them and have them love up on me, it's very relaxing. I know John loves me.
And then,
Reading Heart's mission is to make sure that every kid has a book in their hands. And so our goal is just that, to make sure that we are able to get a book to every kid.
the benefits of bonding with animals is well documented, so this nonprofit is helping veterans and first responders find peace by caring for one of nature's most magnificent animals.
Dogs look at us and think that we're gods. Cats look at us and think that we're staff. But horses look us right in the eye and say, where are you in the pecking order?
It's okay, nobody's gonna hurt you.
They read your energy, they read your emotions, they read your body language, they read your thinking.
Big dog.
Horses are therapy because you're working with an animal that is afraid of you and yet wanting to trust you and wanting to connect and bond with you. And as prey animals, they've had to learn to be hypersensitive to their surroundings and their community around them, just like our soldiers and just like our first responders are taught to be hypersensitive to everything for their own safety. And our veterans and first responders have to learn how to understand how they communicate, how they come across, what they think, how their energy looks to other people, and they can learn to control all of that by way of the horse.
I suffer from anxiety, and being out here with the horses and just being able to pet them and have them love up on me, it's very relaxing.
John loves you.
I know John loves me. And I'm free out here. The program that Deborah runs is an amazing program from all the veterans.
It's really remarkable. They're really incredible therapy animals. We are a horse sanctuary. We take in rescued horses and surrendered horses and give them a forever home. When you get to know a horse, you're getting to know a personality, you know, an animal with every bit as much intelligence and ability to communicate, same exact as what we all have and experience.
This guy knows all my secrets. Yeah. Hi, Big John.
Veterans, especially that have PTSD, have a tendency to isolate themselves. And when I say to them, we need you out here, we need you to come help work on this ranch, and we're just seeing a huge difference in the ability to come out and build relationships and feel needed and put their skills to work.
You know, at first, my husband was a little bit hesitant. He came out and just kind of thought he was going to watch our children. And then I noticed him kind of walk off on his own and start connecting with the horses.
Hi, baby. Hi.
Being here where if you feel like talking, you can talk.
Just love getting loved up.
If you don't feel like talking, you can just walk around and communicate with horses.
Coming out here to the civilian sector, there are very few programs like this. This is a wonderful program.
Post-traumatic stress is difficult to explain. I'm antisocial. I don't meet in big groups. My family has problems with it. My children have problems with it. You know, there's the nagging. How come you don't do this and that? Here, the horses don't care.
When we return.
My prayer was to be a blessing to my community. My community has been, I believe, more of a blessing to me.
Every child should have access to books, and that's the mission of this next nonprofit, founded by a girl when she was just 8 years old. This is Axel. With his help and others like him, kids all over Central California have the joy of reading a book.
Because of quarantine, libraries and bookstores are closed, so with the little libraries, they're still able to get a book.
No matter what circumstances or chaos is going all around us, we're still a neighborhood, we're still a community, and it's bringing so much joy to families, and it's a blessing to be part of that.
At 8 years old, Danae started her own nonprofit called Reading Heart.
Reading Heart's mission is to make sure that every kid has a book in their hands. And so our goal is just that, to make sure that we are able to get a book to every kid.
Now 13, she's making sure all kids have a book by distributing old newspaper bins that are transformed into little free libraries.
We're getting our little libraries from the Fresno Bee. They are donating their old Fresno Bee bins that they used to put the newspapers in, and we are giving them out to people in our community, and they're decorating them in these amazing ways. And what we're gonna do is that we are going to place them in different neighborhoods and different, like even in schools, and kids are able to go and get a book from them or leave a book.
I've tried to do your do-it-yourself ones, and they've become garden decorations in the backyard. And I pretty much let my boys choose what they wanted as a library, and they both were like, a robot, Mom, a robot Tin Man. What's special about this box is a lot of little pieces came from my in-laws, and then my 6th grade teacher helped me make my heart and gave me little gadgets to put on my box.
Well, at first I was thinking it was going to be more simple, but when I saw that things were more extravagant, my mind was amazed by everything.
A former resident coach, Virginia is finding joy that her little free library is helping kids and parents through these difficult times.
Being able to indirectly work with children still in a way where they can maybe pick a book that maybe teaches them something, teaches them how to bounce back from something in their life. I've received several notes from even adults that have picked a book from here that they weren't expecting and leave me a little note of how the book impacted their life. And so, you know, that's priceless. My prayer was to be a blessing to my community. My community has been, I believe, more of a blessing to me. It's such a joy looking out my window and seeing families here, seeing grandparents with their grandchildren. Words can't express how special it's been and a blessing it's been for me.
There are some kids that don't have as much access to libraries or bookstores, and some kids don't have any books at home. And because of quarantine, libraries and bookstores are closed, so with the little libraries, they're still able to get a book. It makes me feel happy because now everybody has their own book that they can read, or they can share a book with somebody else.
Thanks so much for watching More in Common just before Giving Tuesday. I'm Michael Koenigs. I hope you have a good week.